good, everybody? It's Big Game James back in the building, man. And hey, I want to play the how about them Cowboys, but they got definitely not how about them Cowboys that week one. And it's guess what? It's brought up the Kellen Moore, Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy offense, all things, brought it all up again. We thought it all was a dream, like Biggie said. Man, it was a bad dream when they lost that game against San Francisco. Offense looked inept. It started going too downhill. I've been a Kellen Moore supporter, trying to give him the love, the things I've been trying to, because I'm going to tell you right now, big shout outs to, let me say all this before we get right into the videos, because there's a lot of stuff that you're just going to hear that I just been hearing and reading over time. And I just want y'all to hear it, and y'all kind of judge for yourself. But it's kind of my thoughts on this Kellen Moore, Dak Prescott offense, all this kind of stuff, my formulation, not nobody else's. But let me give a big shout out to Jay Tuck. He came with that good video that I'm going to play from Mike McCarthy. I'm sure you already heard it because I'm sure you already seen that video of Boss Cowboys with Jay Tuck. They did their thing, talking about the offense, breaking things down. Shout out to them. And shout out to them as a whole, because Jay Tuck, I give him his respect because he played the game of football. Not on the just on the high school level. He played in college. Boss played in college. OC, I respect those guys. I think even E.T. Blue, I played high school, up to high school, but I played more of the basketball game. You feel me? But football has always been my thing. Coached, plenty players, always been a part of it, been around it. Got players that are playing right now in college. I just always loved the game. But I really shout out to those guys, because when they break down film, I really respect it. Okoye, too. Really respect Okoye. I don't know if he played football or not, but I really respect how Okoye breaks down the videos and the breakdowns of the games. Definitely how they just, when they get to talking about it, I definitely listen, because, I know things about the game, not so much. So when I talk to those guys, I definitely listen to when they got something to say. So shout outs to them, number one, how they out there doing it. And they have some good things to talk about, so make sure you always go support them. So I just want to kind of get that out there. Now, I got some little pushback on how they feel about Dak Prescott, and I'm going to say my little piece on that right before I end this. But I got a little pushback on that, coming from my perspective. That's just from me. I got pushback on it. But when we're talking about this Mike McCarthy thing, like I said, I don't know everything, how they doing it. I'm not back in there. Everybody's speculating unless you talking right there, unless you right there with them. But I told you how I feel about these Joneses. You know what I mean? I ain't going to kind of just keep beating it up. You already know how I feel about it. It's going to kind of come into play with this. Never, let's go. Let's try to make this thing work. But it's kind of just the same old thing. And as long as these Joneses kind of make this happen, it's just like this thing has to blow up. But it feels like there's never going to be the change from the top for it to really blow up. But I really don't want this to succeed with Kellen Moore. People keep on saying there's change, but you haven't seen it. It kind of has to just blow up, because if it keeps on working a little bit, then it's going to keep on staying, and there's never going to be no change. So with Cooper Rush playing, I don't really want to do good. I really kind of want it to blow up. So there can be change, because I want to see a different coordinator with Dak Prescott, because he's always had Jason Garrett. He's always had Scott Linehan. He's always had Kellen Moore, and they all come from that same tree. Only because my thing is, I feel like Dak is becoming stunted with this offense, and just I feel like I need to see somebody else with him. I feel like Dak has peaked, in my opinion, but I still need to fill him with a different coordinator that can get maybe some things out of him that I haven't seen, and I like to see what will happen with that. So with that being said, I got some things that I was just listening to from a lot of other people, just be like, dang, it's just like the same old thing. You feel me? Like when we hear about these problems with Kellen Moore, it's like the same thing. So let me go to some things that, I'm sure you already heard, right? From Jay Tuck. But we'll start from the beginning, and then we'll just kind of break it down. So Jason Garrett, he was a initial guy of this, and that's where the Kellen Moore tree came from. So when Owens was here, and I know Terrell Owens talked a lot of trash, but according to Terrell Owens, this is back in the day when him and Garrett were going at it, right? According to Owens, the problem with Garrett is that players always end up taking the blame when the Cowboys struggle instead of Garrett. I feel like that's the same thing going on with Stephen Jones. You know what I mean? Like Stephen Jones doing the same thing. Like, oh, Jerry Jones, like, yes, CD Lamb's got to play better. Yes, he does. We understand that. He's got to make those catches. He's got to play better. He's got to be a better player. But it always seems like Amari Cooper, he's gone. Dez Bryant, he's gone. Terrell Owens, he's gone. And Terrell Owens was under Garrett. Once he said stuff about Garrett in the offense, gone. Bryant said stuff about Scott Linehan they finding out, gone. Now Amari Cooper, he don't kind of listen to y'all, and he's saying it's frustrating. I'm gonna talk about that. Gone. Now CeeDee Lamb speaks up a little bit under Kellen Moore. We'll see. Gone. But the whole time they're struggling, and teams are calling you out and saying we know what you're doing. So it's kind of weird. So it boils down to the players being the scapegoat for his inability to lead the team as he should, Owens said. For me, it's mind-boggling. I don't understand. And I think Jerry Jones, again, he's the owner at the end of the day. He has to feel good with himself about the decisions. But I just understand why Garrett still has the job. You know what I mean? So that's when it starts. And then next thing you know, it was tumultuous. We know what it was. T.O. did a good thing as far as, stats. He gave Dallas a weapon, but Garrett was getting called out. You know what I mean? So then let's go to Dez Bryant. And I know he said a bunch of garbage tweets, but what did he say? I can't really get deep into Dez Bryant, but Dez Bryant mentioned Scott Linehan with the garbage-ass play calling. And he got fired or let go. I don't know. Scott Linehan was let go basically because the play calling became predictable, and it was saying the play calling was good when the stars were all aligned. Everything was good. All the stars were there. Everything was working. Then it was good. But when somebody got hurt, that play calling suffered. And when it didn't have stars, it really suffered. And now you see Kellen Moore's offense, it don't got the stars. It's suffering. Like, it looks good when you had Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Cedric Wilson and, the host of players. It looked good, But then once the defenses catch on to it, because it's basic, and that's what we'll talk about here, then it's bad unless the stars are playing crazy. But if you're not giving them things to really make them better, then they're not going to be the stars. And then when it comes down to the blame, that's where we're hearing about, well, the players are doing it and the scapegoat, but nobody's talking about these play callers that are doing that. Does that, like I said, got to get better? Yes, I need to see him under a different play caller, but this is what has to happen. You got to call out this play caller, and we got to figure this out. Or it's just going to be the same thing. You know what I mean? So that's kind of, you hear Terrell Owens, you heard Dez Bryant, say a few things. And then Amari Cooper, he starts saying stuff. This is in December. It's very frustrating, but that's not something I can really control. But I do think there's a benefit in me getting the ball in those important situations like the red zone and third down, because I know what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? I'm just going to stay ready for when that time comes, hopefully soon. And people are going to say, yeah, you got to stay. Yeah, you was hurt all the time, Amari. But he played, and Amari was a weapon. Now we're seeing the same thing with CD. It's just funny. But let's listen to a few things. I'm sure you heard this thing with J Tuck, but I'm going to show you this thing with Kellen Moore. It's kind of weird to me, and I'm just going to kind of give my final thoughts because I ain't going to talk your head crazy. Just some kind of things I want you to rehash and listen to how it all kind of unfolds. It's wild. So, I know you already heard this. Let me get it over here.
We learned that they really wasn't going to commit to the run game, and the runs that they did, they was going to try to get outside and not run into the interior. But most of the running game was quick game. A lot of curls, a lot of hitches, a lot of slants and stuff. So we kind of knew that going in, so we was able to attack it.
Okay, you heard that. We heard that. So that was from like a last year They said they didn't. It was crazy, but it's not really crazy, but it was basically disrespecting him and saying we know what you're gonna do every time, and if you ain't got no top dogs, you ain't gonna beat us. You feel me? And I feel like that's what they saying as a whole. Um, get this out the way. So now we play this right here.
Today, but this is my favorite. So we get to talk a little ball here. But no, I've never been a big option route thrower or concept in the past.
I can't get enough of it. We got McCarthy in stereo.
Yeah, it's a little weird hearing your voice. I don't know, but no, but option to answer your question, option routes take a lot of time. You know, and option if you're in a traditional West Coast offense, it's. I tell you, we need to win this week because this is good. This thing's turning into a zoo in here. But yeah. But option routes. So they take a lot of time, Michael. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if you're going to run option routes, you need to live in that world. That's been my experience. You can't dab on it. You know, option routes are really not part of the old traditional West Coast offense. I've had quarterbacks in the past that didn't really like them, and it's really about the connection that they have with the receiver. I've been in systems where only certain guys run them. You know, this is the most aggressive system that I've been in as far as many people that do run the option routes. And so I think you see our commitment to practice. We practice.
Okay, so that's one part of it. But what kind of jumped out to me in that was how he was talking about it's a zoo in here. We better win because it's a zoo up in here. You know, I just feel like he feel like it's crazy. It's crazy in this Cowboys organization. The expectations, the thoughts, is it really about football? He's already questioned that. He's already said, is it really about football? And that's just what it really is. And then it's just a show. You know, it's just a show. And there's some more Mike McCarthy. What else he have to say? You know, how you go to certain players.
Taylor, and so those that is carried forward for generations on that's why you have more than 2 pages on your call sheet. If you look at call sheets, I never looked at the call sheet as a call sheet. I looked at it as a worksheet. When you work on it throughout the week, that's why it's 6 pages instead. I mean, you really use 2 during the game, but those with the other categories. I know personally what I would carry on. Hey, make sure you get the ball to, CD. Make sure here's the top 10 throws. You already have the plays on the call sheet, but they're good reminders how you list, plays for Tony, plays for Zeke, plays for CD, plays for Dalton. So that's all part of the game plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, we already talked about that, and that's where you heard Amari Cooper say he was frustrated because I'm not getting the ball. Because, we saw how the targets went down, but we also saw how the politics happened. It's politics, and we want you as be the guy because you came from the Garrett Foundation. You don't know nothing else. We don't know nothing else. We wanted the Garrett thing to succeed. It did not. You came up underneath it. You're the next young up-and-comer that we want. Have you noticed it's their up-and-comers? It's not nobody else's up-and-comers. You know what I mean? And I wonder why Boise State didn't take you back, or wonder why you didn't go there. I wonder what was said in that. You know what I mean? Like, why didn't you take that role back? Why didn't you go to Boise State? I wonder what was said. Was you promised a job with Dallas? Was this your come back to Dallas and let's see if this was your audition over Mike McCarthy, the way kind of Dick Garrett with Wade Phillips? I mean, Wade Phillips was never going to win nothing in Dallas. But, Garrett coming in, boy wonder, quarterbacks coach, Kellen Moore, quarterbacks coach. It just feels like the whole boy wonder thing again, and he gets the most chances. And like you said, Terrell Owens says the players become the scapegoat, and I feel like Dak is becoming the scapegoat now because when this offense doesn't do good and perform with these players, then they're going to blame the quarterback, which they are now. And as I said before, Dak does need to get better, but I want to see him under a different coordinator and see what he can do. And let's get a dynamic coordinator, and then if it doesn't work, you got that next year, and then because I don't think Dak's going to be here too much longer in Dallas. I'm going to just keep it real. I don't think he is. I feel like You know, if they keep Kellen Moore, he probably gonna be here longer than Dak, and they try to system with somebody else if they feel that way. You know what I mean? But something has to happen in this dynamic because it ain't the same thing, and I don't want to even be successful with Cooper Rush, because if it is, then the Cowboys front office is going to look at this and say, see, we told you we good. Kellen Moore is good. I don't want it to be successful under Cooper Rush. I want it to be going and see something else. It's just what it is. I ain't tripping. You know, it might. I said at the beginning this was going to be a lame duck season for Mike McCarthy. Even if you get 12-5, they're not going anywhere in my opinion, okay? I don't feel like they're going anywhere in a whole long time. I said they weren't going back to a Super Bowl. You never know the future, but that's just what I always felt. Not always felt, but just recently, like in 2017, 2018 is when the barrage really started coming, where I just really started feeling that way. And I just kept on trying to run away from it because I don't want to feel that way and be a negative person about it. But I'm tired of it, and I'm going to call it out as much as I know it. I don't know all the route concepts and the route tree. I know the route tree. I don't know all the concepts of everything in football. But what I do know this ain't going to work. And it's not going to work with this Dak Prescott, Kellen Moore thing. It's not going to work. And I just want to see Dak with somebody else because, like I said, I feel like Dak is peaked. But if he gets with a different coordinator, let me see it. But it's not going to change unless the organization changes from the top, and we know what that is. But they enable it. It's so messy. I'm jumping all over the place, but it's just a thought pattern in my head. But let me just go to this other thing with Kellen Moore, and this is what he's talking with John Gruden, and I just found this kind of funny. Just listen to it. And then we're going to watch a little bit, some stuff, just some highlights of the last game. And then I'm done. But it's just kind of funny how all this is happening. Okay, listen to this.
We're going to get into the Boise system, but your command of this system, can you describe this offense for young quarterbacks out there? I mean, I'm watching this. This is Warren Sapp playing fullback, number 99.
Connor
That's one of our D
McGovern.
tackles from Canada.
I don't know how you get him in the game, but you got a two-back set with him in there. Here's a two-back set with a smaller fullback.
Is he still playing college
I keep
offenses?
watching the tape. You're in a one-back pistol formation running a power play. Then you're in a two-back formation.
I don't know.
Pistol running a read option or something.
My coach said, well, I don't be doing no stuff like this. They say they overdid this. In the NFL, they only do like 22% slap patterns. Dallas doing 43.
Am I right on this? Then you're running a shift with a motion, and before Georgia knows what the call is, you toss the ball, you're on the edge. It's a ton of formations. It's a multitude of shifts, and the offense is exclusive to Boise State. I want to know how you have such a great command of so much stuff.
You know, obviously we got to put a lot of work in. I think guys do a lot of stuff on their own, and that's something very unique to Boise State. We got guys in there watching tape and putting a lot of work in because obviously we do a lot of things.
But when you're playing Toledo this year and you get into some of these crazy empty sets, you take your left tackle. That's an offensive lineman split wide to the left. The tight end is ineligible right here playing right tackle. You're free releasing them. And here come the Toledo Rockets. Review your mindset on this play because you can't throw it to that tackle. He's ineligible, isn't he?
No, his whole job is to occupy space, stay out there. He obviously can't go downfield. He always thinks he might have a chance to catch the ball. But
I've never seen this formation, just so you know. You guys are nuts. But you know the all-out blitz is coming, right?
yeah, essentially all it is it's four vertical.
Just look at some stuff.
And our
while I'm
receiver
doing this.
down below is going to run a hitch. So that's our safety outlet in case we got pressure of some sort. If not, we're going to work this vertical concept. We got our tight end, and then we got our slot receiver run a push fade. So he's widening out to the outside. Our whole goal from an outside perspective is to make it look as confusing as possible. And at the end of the day, it's pretty simple for us. Once we, it's a lot of the same concepts. It's a lot of ways of doing the same things.
How does Boise practice all these shifts?
Shift in motion period at the beginning of the practice. Make sure everyone's on the same page. During the games, we have very specific.
I'm just
obviously, to
playing
the
around
game
with
plan,
stuff.
the shifts and motions are very
Just
specific
listen to
to each
this,
play.
though.
That there's a purpose to why we're doing it. We're not just shifting and motion and running people all across the field just for the heck of it. There's a reason. We're trying to get an advantage. We're trying to outnumber them. We're trying to see a coverage or something.
Like, what's the name of a shift?
Shop. I mean, shop, carries both guys over. You can
Give me a couple other cool names of shifts.
you can fly.
Groove funny,
fly,
man.
You can fling. You can, obviously shake, bust,
Good, I love it. I love
dart,
it. Good.
spread.
We're gonna get into that.
He said good. He said good. Well, listen to this though. This is some funny stuff right here though.
I like it a lot. How come at Boise State you have so many gadget plays in the red zone?
It's a great opportunity to do some different things, and
Yeah, but you move the ball all the way down to the 5-yard line in a game and you run a speed option. You pitch it to Pettis. Pettis rolls out to the right and jams it in there to a Utah Utes face mask, and he catches it himself. Who calls these plays at the 5-yard line, man?
they're plays that carry with us all year. There's plays like these that are in probably for 3 straight years, and they're never called because the situation's never right, but eventually it happens. I think we're very creative. We're very open to a lot of different ideas and concepts, and watching guys like Drew Brees and Tom Brady and seeing what they're doing. And
He said, who calls these plays? Kellen Moore does, because he's done it in these games that we've seen. You feel me? He's done it in these games. We've seen the craziness in this past game, as I'm showing right here. As I said, I don't have all the concepts on here. I get it. But it's the same old thing. You feel me? That's a pass that Dak's got to make, in my opinion. I just feel like it's the same old thing. Shout out, go watch those breakdowns with Okoye and them. But I'm gonna just end it with this. Kellen Moore ended up being his last quarterbacking days, I believe. He threw for 400 yards in a non-game against the Washington Redskins at the time. He was was going to be the backup ahead of Dak Prescott before he broke his ankle and Dak took over. Dak said he's got full support of him. When he was going to come in, when they got rid of Linehan and they were moving into a different era. But Kellen Moore knows nothing but Linehan because he was with him in Detroit, and Linehan brought him over there. And then those concepts of Linehan, Garrett, it's all been the same thing. And Owen said they figured out the offense with Garrett, they figured out the offense with Linehan, and they figured out the offense with Kellen Moore. So then that's why it doesn't have to go. But who is the enabler in all this? It's the Joneses. They enable all this. They allow all this because they're so hell-bent on proving they're getting these guys. And when they get these guys and they make it, they can point their chest out and say, see, we were right. We told you about these guys. We told you we were right about these guys. But it's all really yes men. And as long as the yes men are there, it's not going to work, because you leave a guy who's really a football mind, who really could cook it and do it the way it's supposed to be. And if you just the owner and sit back and let it cook, then you just going to enjoy the fruits of it and not have to worry about it, because everybody's going to know who you are. But it's the fact that you're so hell-bent on letting people know who you are, whether it's good or bad, is the bad thing. Michael Parsons said, I'm not going on First Take or whatever the hell it is. I don't know the damn name of it no more because I don't watch it. But he said, I ain't going over there. Quarterback just got hurt, and we lost. It wouldn't be right for the team. I got to figure out how to get this better and become a better leader. I mean, that's why I said the owner should be doing that too. Shouldn't be talking in the media every 2 seconds. You talking about the fans is frustrated. Stephen Jones saying he knows the fans is frustrated, but be like Aaron Rodgers and relax. First of all, I ain't caring if it's Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers ain't won but one Super Bowl. He been all kind of championships, ain't won nothing either. So he ain't really no winner to me. He just a very talented quarterback. But he ain't no winner because it ain't proven that he is, because what he really won and how many times they choked it. So I ain't jumping on that Aaron Rodgers thing either. But the whole fact of the matter is, people ain't going to be relaxed out here. You know, hopefully you really listen to this video. You know, like a lot of people, they don't want to listen to videos that's long. But this is a video to say, look, the only way the Cowboys going to change is if we change. Cowboys can't be jumping up there, buying these tickets and falling for that. You paying all this money, all that for these Dallas Cowboys when they keep on saying they're doing everything they can. And they're not. These beat writers, can say, yeah, they are. But they're really not, because they can go and make a few steps to make this team better. But the whole point is, back your hands off of it a little bit and let football people. The biggest problem of this is Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones, in my opinion, are not football guys, and I've been said this. They're not football minds. Great business owners, not football minds. And they're hell-bent on proving the world they are football minds. They have a guy in Will McClay who's cool in his role, so they don't got to worry about pressure of a GM or anything like that. But they're not going to let a strong football mind, Will McClay, I'm not saying he's not, but understand how I'm saying this as far as this team is constructed. No person is going to come in here and call shots. And that is the issue as far as the football side of it. And I can draft young players. I'm going to keep it real. I can. Yes, I can. I have a mind to be able to draft players and hit on things. You can miss on things too. And that's some of it. You put all your eggs in that basket of drafting young players because they are cheaper and you don't have to spend that money. But if they flop, then your organization gets set back because you're not trying to pay the players because you don't want to spend the money. And that's just a bad thing. And you always want to have your hand in it. And as long as their hand is in it, it's not going to ever change. And with this Kellen Moore thing, if it works, it could Cooper Rush a little bit, it's not going to change. So I want it to change from the top as far as the mindset, because they're never getting rid of the team. But I would like to just see them change as far as the mindset of how they operate things. I love my team, but how they operate this is just fundamentally bad, and they think it's right. And as long as they get the support and being the $8 million organization, they're not going to change that thought pattern. It's only going to be drastic losses quickly, losses major, for there to be change in this building with those Dallas Cowboys front office. Because that's, to me, where it starts. It starts up there, then it festers into the coaching. There's discord right there, which there is now, and then it goes to the players. And you'll see it with the play. And I think that's how it happens. And it's going to continue to stay like that unless there are changes up top. And it's not going to be changed unless drastic things happen. And losses have to happen. So I'm not sitting there and saying, hey, I'm wishing losses on my team, but I'm wishing losses on my team in a way. Because I don't really want them to win. Because if they can win under a Cooper Rush, then they're not changing Kellen Moore. They're not changing that concept. And it's going to be the same thing. So I already had them starting out 0-2 against Cincinnati anyway. So we'll see what happens in that game. I'll be calling it. Tune in. Best of Enemies podcast goes down tomorrow, Sunday, because I'm pre-recording this today. But it goes down tomorrow. Make sure you check out that Best of Enemies podcast. We'll be talking to Bengals, Cowboys. We'll see how that matchup. Jamar Chase already been talking. We'll see what Trevin Diggs does. It's going to be an exciting game. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But the only way there's going to be change is if drastic losses happen. And if that don't happen and Dallas weathers a storm with Cooper Rush, they're going to say, see, we told you we right, and we're not changing nothing. So we'll just see. But that's my kind of 2 thoughts on it. Big Game James, I'll give you my thoughts and previews of the Cowboys-Bengals on another video before.